All right, guys, welcome to a special episode of Talk Soup. We're going to be doing our spoiler review for the latest installment of the MCU, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. As always, my co-host Kitty for Talk Soup, and our special guest today, Joanne from over at Geek Vibes Nation. Joanne, pleasure having you.
Thank you guys very much for having me on.
I appreciate you coming on for two reasons. One, because I know you're a fan of the film, but also we went to see it together. First time I met you in the flesh. We actually went, you and a couple other people. It was fun. And as I explained on my social media and to anyone else that knows me, I haven't been to the theaters in almost 2 years. So it was a good welcome back. And I think this was like the best way to do it because we got a movie I liked. If I would have went back to the movies after almost 2 years and I would have went to see a movie that was, I don't know how I would have felt. But all right, let's get down to it. Kitty, I'm going to start with you. What did you think overall of the movie? Because we haven't spoken about it. You went to see it yesterday, and you, I guess, deliberately didn't want to tell me your feelings, which I'm glad. I'm glad you saved it for today. So I have no idea what she's about to say. What did you think of the film?
So, like you, this is my first time back to the movie theater since all this COVID stuff. So it's been about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm really glad that my first movie experience back was to see this movie.
Yeah.
Because I was going in thinking it was going to be good, but I went in and it exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, it did.
I thought of all the movies that have come out since pandemic, everything, it's probably been the best movie I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Visually stunning, fight scenes, incredible. I liked how they took it back to all like the old school martial arts movies with the bracelets. I liked how they even had, the crouching tiger, hidden dragon aspects of it. I liked how it had the fantastical elements of it. I even liked how it kind of had like the kind of horror aspects of it as well. It didn't feel like a Marvel movie, but in the same aspects, it did have Marvel elements to it.
Of course.
So yeah. I really did enjoy the movie a lot, more than I expected to. Right down in the third act, towards the end, I had tiny bit of problems with it, but since the movie was so visually stunning, it did not bother me.
So what about the third act? Just like name, you don't have to name everything, but what specifically about the third act?
It was going towards that human villain element, and then to introduce that fantastical element into it felt a little bit clunky, and then it got a little bit jumbled up. But since it was done so well and it was so visually pleasing, I didn't mind it.
You talking about the Dweller, the one that
the Dweller that just came out, and the two dragons it looked like two dragons kind of fighting.
At one point it did. Well, you had the one dragon, and the other one kind of had not a dragon face, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, and it had the huge, the mega soul sucker, if you want to call it.
Yeah, the mega soul sucker. So, I mean, and then you had Aquafina kind of, she, in that third act, she a little bit stole the show for me.
Yeah.
So I like that she was there to kind of pick it back up. And with Simu Lee, what his fighting, if he wasn't there, I think that the third act would have lost me. So I did not have problems with it overall.
Okay.
So,
yeah. I mean, I understand that. I understand how maybe the fighting between the two, the Great Protector and the Mega Soul Sucker towards the end, it got a little, not over the top, but it did get bigger than I thought it was going to. But like you said, I think because it was done so well, and because you had seemingly the way his acting, but also his performance and his stunts and the choreography, everything about this, the movement of it, I totally understand. Yeah, and I mean, I didn't so much have an issue with the third act. I thought it was very, very good. And I know Joanne thinks otherwise as far as it being probably the best, but for me also too, as a solo film, this is probably one of my favorites.
That's where I
love my Avengers. I know you don't like the ensemble films, with the exception of Guardians, which I can't hate on because I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's one of the better ensemble films, taking Avengers on the side, but I love the Avengers. Infinity War, Endgame, they could be number 1 or number 2 on any day. It doesn't matter. They can intertwine, or I should say interchange. But this was easily the best solo film I think Marvel's done, because it's different, because of how different it is.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really, that's why I didn't mind the fantastical element at the end, because we were in a fantastical world.
Yeah.
It's Talo? Is that how you say it, Juwan? Talo?
Tallow.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the comics. That's that's like a godlike world, right? With a world of gods.
It's a god realm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, god realm. That's what I meant. So that's what we're gonna see. I mean, you've seen the. I hate that I can't remember what they are, but the protect the lions, but they're dogs. What are those called again? There's a name for them.
Yes, because they're actual. They're let me not say real, but they're
that's actual Chinese lore.
Yeah. Yes. I can't remember the name right now either, and it's killing me. But yeah, that wasn't them for the movie. That wasn't
even them in there. You know, I thought it was going to look clunky at the end with them fighting. I didn't have a problem with them. Morris had no problem with Morris.
Yeah,
In fact, Disney at the Disney store, they're already selling Morris T-shirts.
I liked Morris. Yeah.
And also, of course, we can't forget Trevor Slattery. Ben Kingsley returning and reprising his role from Iron Man 3. Trevor Slattery, look, we all hated Iron Man 3 for that one reason. What they did with the Mandarin character, the way, and then he had like the short film where they try to retcon it and why he was what he was. Well, I mean, they explained that in Iron Man 3, but they even did a short film with him. I love how they even brought him back. It was a comical element, but I loved it. I love that they referenced it because he did play the Mandarin, and in a bad way. But so I like that he came back. But Juwan, what was your overall experience? Your overall thoughts of this film?
It was amazing. In my opinion, it is the best MCU movie to date, solo wise. I give it the edge over Black Panther because Black Panther's third act visually was horrible, and also had few bumps in it. This might be the most unflawed movie. Take superhero movie out of it, unflawed movie.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of it that was just like, well, this was just really bad. I loved it. I loved the fluidity of the fighting, especially at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
That is how martial arts in its pure essence should be. It should be something that just flows. It's not forced. And I remember I was telling you, Joe, when we left the theater, what I love most about once Shang-Chi kind of embraced his mother was that he had learned being aggressive isn't how you win. And it's a callback to the beginning because she wasn't aggressive. She was defending her land. She wasn't giving deathly blows like he was trying to.
No, it was literally a dance.
Right. Exactly.
I love, that's actually one of my favorite scenes in that film. I mean, obviously at one point it became flirting, because of the two of them were attracted to each other, but it was literally like a dance.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not a huge fan of wires.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is beautiful and frustrating. But this movie, it shows you it with the air, manipulating the air, and then him using the rings to propel himself. It kind of suspends the belief of the fact that there probably is a lot of wire.
Of course, yeah.
So I like the way that was utilized. So it's not just kind of like, well, just jumping like that is just like, you know what I'm saying? It takes the belief out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But this did it very well. It's third act, like I said, I loved it. Trevor is a character I don't ever want to see again. I was really.
I think this is the last of it. I don't think we're going to see him again. I'm all right with him coming back for this. It was a comical because I thought Awkwafina was going to be the comic relief, and she, for the most part, she was. But towards the end, she came into her own, and that was when she learned the skill. She basically shot the shot that pretty much saved Shang-Chi and his sister.
Right.
So I was okay with them bringing another element that we knew nothing. I didn't expect it. I know you didn't expect it. I don't think anybody knew he was going to be in the film for the most part. So it was like, oh wow, oh crap! Like it was cool that he kept him as like a jester because he was going to basically kill him. but then they kept him as a jester. And I love the scenes with him and Morris. It was, for me, if anything, it was just a comedic element that it worked. But I agree with you. Do I need to see Trevor Slattery in another Marvel film? No.
Yeah, it was just closing the loop, which I was fine with. I just didn't need him as long as he was in it to be in it as long as he was. But everything about it was awesome. Shang-Chi is a character that is just a martial artist. So people thinking being able to manipulate the wind is a superpower is a bit frustrating, and then using the rings is a bit frustrating. But I'm sure we'll get into the end credit scene, so I'll leave that out. But the movie in totality was just great. It really was. Wen Wu stole the show for me. He's easily the greatest MCU villain. I'm including Thanos.
That's a tall order.
I know. To me, though, this arc, and I think I mentioned this to you because I know me and you are huge Star Wars fans, this arc just oozed the original Star Wars trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
You have your Luke Skywalker in Shang-Chi. You have your Darth Vader in Wen Wu.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, he put his love for his son over his love for conquering.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he was redeemed. He was redeemed as he died, and that's what put his son over to defeating the actual villain here.
Yeah.
So I loved it. To me, like I said, it's flawless in my opinion.
No, and that's a great analogy because that's actually it's funny that you said that. It's how I felt to when at the end, when he basically sacrificed, he gave up his power, he gave up the struggle. He's like, I'm not going to fight anymore because now I see it in my son. I see what I was supposed to be focused on this whole time was my family, was my son. What is now?
Well, it was a nice little, because in the movie when Shang-Chi had that memory where his father said, "You'll get the rings one day when you deserve it."
Yeah.
And that was that nice little, he saw it in his son, and I was just like, oh, that was just beautiful and moving. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was even a moment that I compared it to the last scene where Palpatine is egging Luke on to kill Vader. Because remember, he tells Katie, "I know now what I have to do. I have to kill him."
Yeah.
And it's the same mindset Luke had going into that final battle with Vader, is that I have to kill. There's no other alternative. And then you see as the fight weans to where it's kind of just like, there is another way. Let me try to redeem you and bring you back. And that's when he put the rings down and said, enough. That was his moment. And then, of course, once the Palpatine-like character comes out of the cave, it's in that moment where Wen Wu could either continue his mission or, do what Shang-Chi has been looking for him to do his whole life, which is to be a father. And he chose to be a father in that moment. So to me, powerful. And it's why his arc is one of the more fulfilling ones.
And it's also another villain that you start to, and again, I know Thanos, I say this all the time, I know what he was thinking was doing was genocide, but you kind of you can understand where he's coming from. And with this one, what I'm trying to say is it makes him more of a human, because all right, what he did in the past was the past, but then he gave it all up for her and to start a family. And it wasn't until her death, and even now, it's more about trying to bring her back. It's not about conquering anymore. Right. So, yeah, he was a villain in the beginning of the film, but like you said, his arc was fulfilling and it was satisfying. And I agree with you. For me, though, as much as I love Wen Wu, and of course Shang-Chi, my favorite character in this film is Xialing, the sister. I love what they did with her at the end. How she said, you know what? I'm not going to dismantle it. I'm going to make it the way I want it to be. I'm going to make it better. And I'm going to do what my father couldn't. And I love the way they end. I love that twist because I didn't see it coming. But even from the very beginning, when she fights him, at in the cage, when what the fight sequence between, all the characters that are trying to hurt and kill Shang-Chi, and they're fighting on like the bamboo scaffolding, whatever that is. I love that. I mean, I love all the scenes. I loved all the fight scenes, but I loved her character so much. And for me, she's the one that stole the show because I wasn't expecting it. Because obviously, you're right away before you go in to see the movie, you're going to get a good performance from I don't want to even attempt it, from Wenwu. And Shang-Chi's the title character, so you're gonna love him. You're gonna follow and like him. But I was very, very surprised of how much I liked her character, the mother, and even the aunt.
Yeah.
I like the aunt's role as well. I mean, I also love that actress as well. But Ying Nan was the aunt's name. And I even loved her. Like, when they get to Tao Lo and the guy's like, no, you don't belong here. Get out of here. And she goes, no. I've been waiting. I've been prepping for this. I told your mother that when you come, I would have something prepared for you. And I just, I love those elements, and I did love.
I think the sister was also refreshing for me because you don't see her in the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So going in and then seeing this character come on,
yeah,
it was just like she's pretty badass.
Yeah.
That end credit scene, that end credit shot to me was powerful. I know a lot of people jumped to compare it to Boba Fett sitting on the throne. To me, get that out of here. I compared the beginning of the movie. She's sitting exactly how her father was.
That's how I compared. Yeah, if it's almost shot for shot. It's exactly what it is.
It's. I appreciated this movie in totality, especially that moment, like you were saying, mainly because it shows the duality of the two children. That as much as Wenwu wanted Shang-Chi to be more like him, he was never going to be. He was always like his mom.
Yeah.
It was Xialing that was always meant to be like Wenwu, and he missed it. Yeah, he missed it.
Because that's how they are. And
I think that's because he put her that way because he denied her, and she taught herself all this just watching everything. So in actuality, he's the reason why she was that way, and he pushed Shang-Chi to be something that he was not going to be. Right. And that driven force of not recognizing what his daughter can do and bringing her along pushed her to be more like her father. So,
and I mean, I personally loved it. I mean, man, I just can't get enough of that end credit scene. I loved it. It's just amazing. I mean, and I'm, like I said, I'm sure we'll get into it, but what it means going forward is even more impactful because it affects not only the immediate, but the long term. She could be how we get Iron Fist. So it's just it's huge what that last scene entails because it's like there's a lot that could come from it.
Yeah. No, and again, and one last time, the fact that she did teach herself is what even drove it home even more for me because she said, okay, you're going to ignore me. You're going to focus on, the boy, your son, which is pretty much that's how the Chinese culture is. Isn't it more the son is more revered? I mean, that's not only, I don't even think it's just Chinese culture.
I was going to say, that's probably
it's almost everywhere. Culture. The son is the bearer of the name, the son is so I like how her new system now, you see all the women training, which is great because they train in equal. But like I said, she trained herself. And she was I think even better. She was more of an assassin than he is.
I would even say it's interesting to see if any of the widows.
That's a good point. I didn't even think to tie those two together. Yeah.
I think one of the widows was in the scene where Shang-Chi and John and Katie were walking through the woman that was fighting that
the extremist.
That looked like he was at Iron Man 3. She looked as if she had the Widow logo on her belt.
I'm going to go back and look at that because I was more focused on the guy glowing because I wanted to see if that was anything like a mutant or whatever. But it looks more and more like almost like the extremist kind of thing where he glows inside. But I didn't catch the girl. No, I didn't even bother looking at that. I like that scene.
I think she is, but the suit looks just like the suit from the Widows in the Black Widow solo that we just got. So again, it'd be cool because part of me is just like, well, it's like what? Over 1,000 widows across the globe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't find it hard to believe some of them might have.
No, I mean they got to go somewhere, right? That's
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Kitty, what do you think about the dynamic or I should say the team up, the very odd team up of, and I'm going to get to you, Joanne, about it too. The Abomination and Wong. What is going on there? Why? What did you think of that? Like, obviously we get the fight. But from the dialogue between the two, it's almost like it's supposed to be staged and
Yeah.
just for entertainment. I don't know if that's just Wong's way of making extra money on the side to be able to buy his own tuna melt, or something else is going on with Wong that we don't know of. But what did you think of that?
I don't know. Yeah, that tripped me up a little bit because I thought it was, that underground fighting and what was going, because strangers like don't do anything, and then you see Wong over there fighting, and it's just like, and then to find out he's like, it was just like staged.
Yeah.
So,
you didn't choreograph your punches like you were supposed to, and you basically gave him a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah, so I wasn't really sure what to make about that. Like, is he going to be a bigger introduction into the MCU along the way? Because now you're seeing that Wong's going to be something a part of, he's going to be bigger into this along the way. So I really didn't know what to make of it, to be completely honest with you. Like, are we going to see more of Abomination, and where,
before we seen this movie, we thought Thunderbolts right away with Abomination, and that's possibly what's being set up. I don't know if this is Wong training with Abomination. I've heard other people just speculate that this is possibly just the way Wong releases his stress and just gets out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he literally just says, all right, I'm going to pull Abomination out of the raft or wherever he was, whatever, if he was in jail or whatever. And this is my way of blowing off steam. Or like I said, maybe earning some extra cash.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't fit with the Wong character.
But that doesn't fit with it, because Wong, remember in Doctor Strange, Wong was like, I don't need money.
Yeah. Like, that's why I'm saying it doesn't fit.
One rupee in his pocket.
Yeah.
So that didn't slide with me either. So it was just a weird.
Yeah. Now, Juwan, what do you think? What's your I guess your speculation or your thoughts on not necessarily a team up, but they obviously know each other. He did refer to Abomination as Emil. Mm-hmm. He called him by his first name. So is this? I also heard too that this was just possibly a showcase of what Abomination now looks like before we see him in She-Hulk. Just so we know that this is, in fact, the actual Abomination from the Incredible Hulk. He's just a different, like, he's more comic book accurate or something like that. I really don't know more. I'm with Kitty. I really don't know more of what to think about it, because it doesn't, if it is to earn extra cash, which it doesn't make sense because that's not Wong's character. If it's to blow off steam, that doesn't make sense because it's supposed to be staged anyway. So what's he blowing off? What do you make of it? What do you think this is?
Something's going on in that Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yeah.
Something's going on, something fishy, something maybe, dare I say, devilish is happening in that Sanctum Sanctorum. I don't know. I didn't give it much thought because we have two movies where we're going to figure this out. Spider-Man and then Doctor Strange. So something will come out of that as to what Wong is doing. I mean, in Spider-Man, that trailer, obviously, I think we can connect the dots. It connects more to Shang-Chi than it does anything else. But when he's walking into that portal, it seems he's walking into where he tells Shang-Chi he and Doctor Strange felt the shake of the rings once Shang-Chi was able to activate them. So I think those two movies are connected more so. But I'm more interested in the fact that he took him from the raft.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's where he took him from.
Yeah, it looks like the raft. So that means Ross has to know that Abomination is clocking in and clocking out a few times a week or a month to go fight. So I am curious. I don't know if Val is involved because I don't know if Val works for Ross. But there's something afoot, and that's more of like your background story. But it was done for a reason. I don't think it's to prepare people for She-Hulk, because you could have just did that in She-Hulk. It would have had the same impact. Right. Putting Wong and Abomination together, you did it on purpose. And I think it's more so why was Wong doing it more so than why was Abomination there? Because I think that's the easier solve.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm thinking more. I'm thinking more along the lines is why is Wong there, but what is going on with Wong? And I also agree. And I said that with the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. I just feel like Doctor Strange, I know you said that if you go by the first movie and how egotistical he is and how he's up for a challenge because he thinks he can do everything, it's not really too far off of how he acts, but I still think there's something off, and
Well,
it could
I mean,
be the Sanctum.
It could be. I mean, it could be. I hate to even say it. It could be Mephisto. Could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
But Doctor Strange in the comics does often practice dark arts. And there were a few times he couldn't handle it. There were a few times he could handle it. So again, that wasn't what caught me off guard in the trailer, like it did to most people. Of why would he even do this? I mean, I said it before. It's a kid coming to you, telling you, all my villains now know who I am, where my family lives, where my friends live.
Mm-hmm.
Help me.
Yeah.
I believe Strange would help him, whether, he's under someone's control or acting on his own free volition. So to me, that didn't really shock me at all. It was more just so when you see him astral project Peter out of his body, he didn't have a smile on his face. He looked pretty upset.
They look like they were fighting.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that more so. But him helping Peter, that didn't throw me off at all. That made the most sense. So maybe Wong is doing more so rehabilitation. Because it's like, well, you can't go out into the world and fight. So why don't we take you to this fight club? You can't kill anyone. So, maybe go here and have some fun. Maybe, I don't know. But again, how does Wong connect with Abomination? How do they even?
I don't know. All right. And then let's talk about that other, the end credit scene. So the first end credit scene we get, the mid credit scene, I should say, where we're introduced once again to now Bruce Banner, separate from Professor Hulk, no longer Professor Hulk or Smart Hulk. And Captain Marvel makes an appearance now too. And obviously they're doing it via holograms. And they're basically analyzing the rings. And none of them can tell where it's from. Whether it's Wong, whether it's Bruce Banner, Banner mentions vibranium. And they just don't know where this is from. And then it's mentioned that it's serving as a beacon. It's calling out to something.
Mm-hmm.
Kitty, what do you think it could possibly be? Now, I have no idea either. So I'm going to speculate in a minute. But where do you think it's calling out to? What do you think that they're trying to tie that? Because obviously this is something they're setting up to be obviously a lot bigger. So what do you think?
I think it's going back to its comic origins. Back to the dragon. I can't ever pronounce the name.
Fin Fang Foom?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's up, elevators? Hello. Sorry I'm late. Don't worry about it, buddy. Thank you for coming.
I think it's they're finally tying that story back in. I mean, originally it's the rings, but now they made it the bracelet. So I think it's tying it back to its alien origin, back to wherever it's going to, and they're finally tying that story back in somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just how I took it. I have no idea. And then you have two of the greatest minds. You have Wong and then Bruce Banner. Obviously, his arm was whatever, so it was probably right after whatever happened at Endgame.
Yeah.
And then you have Marvel. I think they tied her in because she's out there with all the galaxies. She should probably know, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I took that whole scene. But I don't know. That was the only thing that I could possibly think of.
I mean, I had three questions that come from that scene. One, why is Hulk and Banner separate now? They thought they had a cohesive, relationship where, I mean, I'm fine with it because I didn't want Professor Hulk all the time. I like Professor Hulk, but I more prefer like Ravage Hulk or Savage Hulk. I'm saying like actual angry Hulk. Like I want Hulk. It was funny, but I want a Hulk that's going to do some damage. But anyway, that was my one question. Second question, where did Captain Marvel have to rush off to? Something happened. She got an alert for her to rush off to something other than this. Not that this was like anything that important, but where did she have to rush off to? And I'm hoping we do find out, unless that's just a throwaway line. And then also too, of course, now what are the origins of these rings? It was mentioned in the movie. There's rumors or legends that it either came from a crater or a tomb. I do like the fact that, or I'm hoping that it is like you say it is, that it's calling out to its origins, and it's possibly Fin Fang Foom.
Yeah.
I really hope that. I heard other people say that they're speculating that it could be from Celestials, that it could be have ties from the Celestials, and maybe we'll know more about it from Eternals. I have no idea if the two films are going to not connect, but maybe tell a different story. But I would much rather the Fin Fang Foom element. And I think Elevators is the same thing. If they're trying to connect something, maybe as Guardians or Eternals, but I'm going to go with Kitty and say Fin Fang Foom. Yeah, and I'm hoping for that too. And he also says, yeah, I'm really happy that they kind of erased Professor Hulk. Yeah, for now, for the time being, it looks like that's what's going to happen. I don't know if Banner turns into the Hulk, we're always going to get Professor Hulk because it's not really explained. It was never really even shown how they became that, but yeah, so it was a little interesting to see that it was Banner and not Professor Hulk. If it was indeed soon after Endgame, it wasn't that far after the snap, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So, and it also looks like, Joanne, how do you feel about the Hulk's arm? Is the Hulk not able to heal itself or no? Mm-mm. So his arm is going to be busted forever?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. Oh,
yeah.
if I like
can't
that.
Reverse that kind of damage. Yeah, can't reverse that. His other hand also had some kind of contraption on it. So maybe that contraption is how he's able to switch back and forth. Katie, I was with you. I mean, no one wanted Fin Fang Foom more than me.
Yeah.
When I heard they were doing the Great Protector, I was just like, but Fin Fang Foom exists. Like, why?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed.
Juwan, you want to answer this question really quick? Elevators want to know, because he's never seen the show, but could the rings connect to Iron Fist?
No. Iron Fist, that Kung Lao is a whole different realm. That doesn't really have anything to do with the rings. I know a lot of people got confused because Kung Lao is a dragon. In Kung Lao, there's a dragon, and then there was a dragon here. So people are like, "Oh, is that the?" No, but this movie being made and showing different realms does open. That's why I said,
"Oh yeah."
The end credit scene of Zhai Ling, the Great Tournament. In my mind, this was my thought when they first announced they were doing Shang-Chi, and I heard that there was going to be some kind of tournament in it. My first mindset was, you can't do it in the first one, but in that second one. If Mandarin is still alive, and obviously I said this well before I saw the movie, and Mandarin holds a realm-wide tournament, kind of like Mortal Kombat, right? Where he holds this tournament. That trailer would break all kinds of records if at the end of it, they say, and now introducing, our first entrant, and then it's Danny Rand. You see Rand step up in the actual.
That'd be great.
It would be unbelievable. But going back to the end credit scene we're actually talking about, I don't think it's Fin Fang Foom anymore.
Okay.
And the reason why is Fin Fang Foom is not really it could be. Let me take that back. It could be an Avengers level villain. But if you're introducing Fin Fang Foom, I kind of want that to be a Shang-Chi thing, where he has to defeat Fin Fang Foom.
In the sequel, probably. Maybe that's what we get in part 2.
It could be. I think they're going to go more so the route of the sibling rivalry, where that comes back to kind of bite him in the butt, where he's like, I thought you got rid of it.
Now, do you think she's going to take on the Mandarin mantle?
As literally the Mandarin?
Yeah.
I think she's going to continue what he started, but I don't think she's going to take on literally. Like, he went out to just kill people and conquer for power. I don't think she's necessarily going to do that.
Well, he never considered himself. He made fun of the name. He said, "You're literally calling me an orange." He never used that name anyway. He's not the Mandarin.
I was not fond of that line. But I separate comics from anything else. So I get why they didn't, but I wasn't too happy that M'Baku never went by Manape. I get why they didn't. There's just a lot of problems with that. And I get why he didn't go by Mandarin. Mm-hmm. But to me, that's really all I know you by is Mandarin and Manape. So it's still something I got to try to get used to. But no, I think that beacon could have been for Galactus. I think that beacon, because I hearken back to what Thor said in the first Avengers. He said, "You've now shown other universes, other worlds, that Earth is prepared for a higher kind of war." So to me, that beacon could be something that
I like that
part of something that kind of trickles down the road.
Yeah, Jawan, you weren't the only one. Look at our last comment. Did anyone else see the widow in the Fight Club?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you weren't the only one. He noticed that. He noticed the scene you were talking about. That in fact, I want to go back. I want to go back and watch that. Watch that scene because now that you and now him and basically saying that they seen the same thing. Because like I said, I was more focused on the guy she was fighting because he was glowing, and he was happy to see Trevor. And again, if it's the only time we're going to see him or the last time, I'm okay with it too. We got some of the best comedic lines in the film from him. One of my favorites being when he's playing dead and Morris is trying to wake him up and he's like, it's just a performance, mate. I'm not really dead. I suggest you do the same. And then Morris just like goes on its back. And he thinks that maybe, I don't know if at this point, I don't know if the explanation is needed, but maybe we'll get an explanation of how in She-Hulk, how he's no longer Professor Hulk.
We'll need to.
Because he's going to be Ruffalo. Yeah.
The only way She-Hulk exists is Bruce gave her some of his blood.
Yeah.
Some of his blood in the MCU is tainted.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be very interesting to see how they pull that off. Because there's a lot of negative energy in that body. So to be giving blood to anybody is pretty much a mistake. But maybe they could go the route of, if not for the snap and he gave her his blood, she would have been normal. But because the blood is tainted, maybe they could go the route of saying that's what makes her this huge giant that is stuck being green. Like she can't go from, you know what I'm saying, human to this giant. She's stuck.
What's her name? Is it Jennifer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was never really a fan of She-Hulk in the comics or whatever, but I am curious to see what they do with it. And what they do with her. And I like the fact that Ruffalo is going to be a part of it. They already say Abomination. So maybe we'll get more answers to what Abomination's about now in this. I guess that's maybe going to be the next platform that we get it. As far as Hulk and Abomination, right? Because there's nothing else coming.
Oh, yes. Right.
Down the line. Before any kind of ensemble, obviously. We're far away from a next team-up movie. So, they're kind of doing team-ups in a little, like Thor's going to have, I'm assuming, Quill, right?
It'll be interesting. It'll be small. But what really intrigued me about Quill being in this movie is Gore the God Butcher kills gods. Clearly, it's in his name. But Peter Quill was recently a god till he gave, till it was taken out of him. Yeah. I'm curious if Gore the God Butcher knows that, or if the last thing he knows is that Peter Quill was a god.
Maybe try. That really? I've seen conflicting theories online. I do feel he was stripped of that status. He's no longer a Celestial because he gave it up. Right. There are people saying that he does have something still inside him.
If he does,
I don't know how.
He hasn't shown it.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, if he did, wouldn't he have used it against Thanos?
I don't know.
I assumed he would have used it against Thanos. So I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think he does. Again, in the comics, Peter Quill was strong enough to fight Thanos on a moon. Because of his celestial abilities. So to me, I think it's gone. But I did want to make a quick comment before you go forward about what you said before about where Captain Marvel went off to.
Yeah.
She is currently helping Fury build Sword, which is like a more alien version of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
So my bigger question is Secret Invasion is next year, along with the Marvels. So it's whichever one comes first that she ran off to. But it's
Sword was Sword in WandaVision?
Yeah, essentially
that was Sword, right? That was pretty much Sword.
Who came to get Monica? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Sword's the one that she's going to be in is going to have Miss Marvel and Monica Rambeau in it.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, that makes sense because DNA doesn't die if your father dies, but maybe Quill doesn't know.
Yeah, he's still celestial because he's still half his father and half human. I just don't know if he has the power.
Right. I don't think he has the power anymore.
Right, but the DNA in him will always be there. So maybe there's a way because I just feel like as a mortal, I mean, it's obviously worked since Guardians 2. He's been in the movies, but I just feel as a mortal, I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of like Quill having that type of power. So I kind of hope he gets it back, but I don't want to get too far into that. All right. So overall, I would have to say, as I said earlier, I enjoyed this film a lot more than I even thought I was going to. I love the last trailer that we got. It made me even more excited for this film. I couldn't wait to see it in the theater. And as I said, this was the first time it was in the theater in almost 2 years. So it was really good to not only as a good welcome back, but just see a quality film. And I had a feeling it was going to, because Marvel really, with the exception for me of Black Widow, hasn't really done anything where you can be like, all right, well, I'm not going to really watch that ever again. You know, Black Widow, I've already seen twice. And even the movies that I have on the bottom of my list, Thor Dark World, Iron Man 3, Iron Man 2, those are the films that I wasn't crazy about. I've still seen them multiple times. But I was very, very pleasantly surprised of how much I just enjoyed this film. And I was just like, part of me was just hoping, like, please, because as Kitty said, we have been getting some stinkers the last year with these home premieres and stuff like that. So to finally get a movie of substance and of quality, and somebody that went outside the box, because it was a Marvel film, but it didn't feel in a sense like a Marvel film. You know, it felt more, I just loved it. I really did, from start to finish. And I loved its characters. And I never thought I would come out saying that my favorite character, as I said already, the sister. I actually preferred the sister over Shang-Chi, only because of how much of a badass she was and how she taught herself. And she took everything upon herself and doing it. And at the end of the film, it shows. Really quick, I
didn't realize that, like, the fighting techniques is the same person who did the fighting techniques with Jackie Chan. So, because you could tell, I was just like, oh, those maneuvers are really beautiful, like Jackie Chan's.
Did you? There was another. I'm gonna get back to that comment. I didn't brush over that. We'll get to that in a minute. But did you also see there was another style that was in that film that was shown too, and that's the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
they used the Matrix because there is one of the words.
Time.
What?
I say you see it in bullet. You see the bullet time when she's dodging the ring.
That's not a coincidence. The guy from the Matrix worked on this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when he's fighting the mother, is it the mother or no? It was the fight with the mom, right?
Yeah, Wen-Will. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Wen-Will and his in Shang-Chi's mom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So hold on. And this is actually, so I don't know the timeline from the end credit scene from Endgame, but he is right. In Endgame, Carol has short hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't he? Yes. Doesn't she in the hologram? Now she has long hair.
She had hair like up to here.
Right? And then in this one, she's long hair. So how much of a time difference is it?
Well, reading this here, it can correlate, because I think people forget Fury's been setting up Sword since the last Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, because he was up in space and the Skrulls were taking over for him. Yeah.
Right. And we don't know how long, because that was a full ship. We don't know how long even that has been. Yeah, we don't know how long
Fury hasn't been Fury.
Right. So so we have to take that into account. And also, I mean, she could have grown her hair out.
That is true.
In the
Thank you very much.
span of a few months. I mean, that is possible. She could have just grown her hair back out. And I prefer the short hair look.
And she's not like us anymore. Her hair could grow
for sure.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, she can grow hair quicker than a normal woman. Who knows?
But again, we know this. We know the timeline because Bruce is not Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
So that gives us all the knowledge of where this takes place that we need to know. His arm is in a sling, and he's not Professor Hulk, so it's sometime after Endgame. So like I said, I know my hair grows back after
a 5 o'clock shadow. We don't know.
Yeah, that's. And it also, it's funny that he mentions the hair, because it also calls back to that line from Rocket, which I thought was hilarious in the film, where you're off getting another haircut.
Yeah.
I love that. I did love that dialogue between the two of them. But all right, anything else you guys want to mention or talk about or speculate about this film before we wrap up?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kitty.
Go ahead, Ron.
I was just gonna say, my hope is also that this maybe sets up Chthon. I want to see Chthon. I mean, Wanda opened that gate to Chthon. That's his book. So that bill's got to come due at some point. So this beacon literally could be for anything. The only reason why I heighten the beacon is that he had to assemble essentially what's left of the Avengers to figure out what this is.
Yeah.
So it's either connected to the Eternals, which it's possible. These rings could have also been what started the Enlightening that they're talking about in the trailer that they thought just came from the stones.
Yeah.
So that's possible. You know, the Celestials could have saw that and went, what is that? So to me, it just has to be a higher reason than something that could just be solved in a Shang-Chi sequel.
Well, you mentioned Cthulhu, and so when WandaVision was happening, we had rumors of obviously Mephisto. First and foremost, we thought we would get Mephisto.
We can't have a show without that.
But then Cthulhu was also a possibility, as was Nightmare. So those three names were mentioned heavily.
I don't like Nightmare.
No, and we obviously didn't get either of them, but they thought Mephisto, and then also if it wasn't going to be Mephisto, possibly Cthulhu because of the book.
Yeah, I mean, look, what people were pitching of Al Pacino is Mephisto and the whole sitting in front of the fireplace will forever be one of the fondest things to never happen ever in the MCU. But, you know, again, Doctor Strange 2 is right around the corner, so who knows?
Yeah.
With
Katie,
Al
what about you?
Pacino as Mephisto.
Right.
Katie, what about you?
Hoo-ah from Mephisto sometimes.
What do you want to see from, or I guess, what do you have to add?
Did you want to go, Katie?
No, because Katie was going to talk.
I just want to mention that when going into the movie and then that bus scene with that fighting.
Yeah.
My mouth was just like.
Yeah, that was some great shit. And the guy filming it.
Yeah, the one out, but when they went outside, that outside shot where Simu is just like taking on the guys one by one by elevators, I was just like, it's just beautifully like the art in a bus to get that fighting, and he's just jumping up. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, no, I loved, and that's what Juwan said. Juwan said like from start to finish, the fights, the choreography, everything about it was just like fluid, and it was done so well, and to be able to do that on a bus,
yes,
on top or even inside a bus, just amazing.
Yeah, what stood out to me was two things from that bus scene. One was that they made that bus scene a 3-part arc. As Shang-Chi and Katie are sitting there and then the guy approaches, that arc stops right after he defeats them, and then Razorfist shows up. The second act is really that under the tunnel, and then the final act is Katie trying to, but what stood out to me the most, and if you guys get a chance to see this again, try to pay attention to it because it goes by so quick. The detail to the pendant. So he's wearing the necklace. They make sure that at each point of that fight, they're showing the necklace.
Yeah.
And it's not until he separates the bus and he's diving back to the one part of the bus that he showcases his neck, and there is no necklace. So they're showing you the necklace was taken right before that moment. Just the camera keeping up with that to where your eyes are just like, all right, where is it? Where is it? And then you see his neck and it's like, oh, it's not there. And then he goes, where is it? Beautiful. I mean, this is just, the director for this could easily do any martial arts movie he wants from here to the end of time. And I would have so much faith in it.
Yeah, I agree. So Kitty, what do you, I guess, and then we'll wrap it up. What do you want to see from this? Like, whether it's with the rings, either calling the Eternals or Fing Fang Foom, what do you want to see maybe possibly connected or come from this?
I'm not sure if I want to see it connected to the Eternals, because I want to see that as a standalone, because it has a Jack Kirby-esque like movie, like feel the Eternals does.
Yeah.
This one's very separated out and doesn't feel Marvel-esque. So I don't really want to see that connected in a way.
Okay. All right.
They seem like two totally, and I'm really interested in seeing like a Jack Kirby-esque type movie where this one feels like that. So I really want to see Shang-Chi have that Fing Fang Foom element tied back to it, because
Okay.
that's what was missing for me.
Okay.
So
All right.
'cause I like The Great Protector. I did, but as I said, in that third act, it kind of went clunky for me. But again, the movie was so good. I didn't mind it. But I think if that thing foom element was in it, I would have liked it more. So I want to see it kind of come back. And maybe the sisters take on that Mandarin like element. I don't know. I don't want to see her as a bad guy, but I'm seeing it go there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the end credit scene is teasing that more than anything. I'm with you because I liked her character so much. I don't want to see her as a villain, but whether we see her as a villain or not, I'm happy to see her back on the screen and whatever role she's going to do, whatever they're going to do with that character. But I think it's going to be more along the lines of maybe taking up the mantle without calling it the Mandarin. I think she's just going to take over her father's work.
Yeah.
And just make it the way he didn't.
Yeah.
And that's where, the whole women training and whatever. But yeah, I do kind of like the Galactus element of it. I do like that if you are going to go Galactus at one point, which I guess we all agree that it's going to happen, I don't think it's going to happen in the near future, definitely within the next, I would say over 5 years. I don't think we're close to getting Galactus yet. I think it's going to be built and teased like Thanos was. I think it's going to be slowly teased and we're going to get, the big bad. But I do like that if it is going to be a Galactus, that we start getting the breadcrumbs now. So if that's what it's calling, I'm okay with it. And they did say Celestials, so who knows what the beacon is. But all right, guys. Again, if you haven't seen Shang-Chi yet, first of all, I don't know why you're watching a spoiler review. That's number one, because we just ruined the movie for you. Pretty much. I mean, we really didn't. If you think about it, we really didn't go into that much detail. We talked about the end credit scene and whatever, but there's so many parts of this film from start to finish that we didn't even mention, and I think it's great. Juwan, what did you think about the Death Dealer and the way he died?
I had to let this go a long time ago. Feige just has no respect for villains. Just none. So I had to let that go a long time ago. The only reason I was okay with Wen-Wu dying was because there's no Iron Man. So if there's no Iron Man, I have literally no interest in seeing the Mandarin stick around long term. But I mean, he does this all the time. I say this all the time. People tell me who cares, but Thanos' children, how they were used as comedy plot pieces was offensive if you've ever read their comics and read how powerful they are individually. I mean, hell, one of them can't die unless his staff is broken. As long as his staff is intact, his body just respawns. Corvus Glaive is his name.
Yeah, Corvus.
So to me, I guess, I mean, I think I said this to you. I might have said this when we did our GVN review. Maybe I took it wrong, but it just seemed like Death Dealer was meant to be more. Not like more in the MCU, just more for that movie, like a real true badass.
Yeah.
And the first time he fights Shang-Chi in that, in the building, Shang-Chi almost beat him and then almost killed him. So I'm
he would have killed him had the father not step in. Yeah.
So I'm like, well, how skilled is Death Dealer if Shang-Chi can beat him? And we never really got to see that. So.
Now, I agree we all want X-Men, Deadpool, and Fantastic Four. That goes without saying. But after seeing this film, I wouldn't say nobody cares about Shang-Chi because I think he's going to be I think he's a great addition to the MCU. Yes. But I can't disagree. I definitely want my X-Men, Fantastic Four, and I want Deadpool in the MCU. I cannot wait to get those. And I hope those are teased a lot sooner than later. Especially Fantastic Four. I hope we're going to get something from the next coming movies. Teasing these.
They keep saying that like Professor X is supposed to be teased in one of the movies.
Doctor Strange,
but it's not. It's what's his version? What's his name?
McAvoy.
Yeah, McAvoy's version. And I'm just like, okay, if we get this, cool, but stop teasing it and saying it. Like,
yeah, but so Jawan had mentioned that you heard that it's probably going to be Xavier, but they really don't clarify. They did just say supposedly it's going to be a villain from the Fox universe, or not even a villain, a character, a Fox character.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily even have to be X-Men. Anything that came from the Fox universe, in the Marvel world, right? So I mean, technically, I'm not saying it's going to be anybody from the Fantastic Four, but technically, Fantastic Four was Fox, no?
Yes, but what makes the rumor a bit confusing is he prefaces that by saying whatever the character is that he can't reveal will have a fight with Wanda that rivals the fight Strange had with Thanos.
Right.
So then you start to go, well, Human Torch can't stand against Wanda. You know, Reed can't. Sue can't.
Thing can't.
Finn can't. Doctor Doom to a degree can't, unless you're giving us the Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Doom. So then you start going, well, Magneto could, well, Phoenix could, well, Xavier to a degree could. So then you start to go that route. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know how I feel. I want all new. I want all new. I don't like shopping. I don't like driving cars that someone else has just been sitting in. Give me a new one. What's the brand new one look like? Yeah. So to me, I hope they recast everything except for obviously Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. But again, the investors meeting where they share a lot of what's coming down the pipeline is a month and a half away.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping we get more.
Will probably be the grand stage.
I like McAvoy's Professor X.
I mean, and I don't think Juwan had a problem with McAvoy.
I love them all, but it's like we've seen it, you know, and it's like if it's just a cameo in Doctor Strange 2 because you're playing around with the multiverse, not a problem. But if you're talking about a mainstay, like what is now ingratiated in the MCU, I want all new. I want new people to have a chance to bring these characters to life. You know,
because if not McAvoy, I was also hoping for Fassbender's Magneto. I wouldn't mind seeing that Magneto. I wouldn't. I really don't. I mean, I love Ian McKellen. Don't get me wrong. I love his version. But if we were going to get a Magneto squaring off with Wanda, I would have liked to have gotten the one that met Quicksilver and have that element of, you know, who Magneto was.
But I love that you said that because you're making the point that I always bring up that people just gloss over. How people are like, well, I don't want them to recast, but I love Fassbender. And I'm like, well, Fassbender was a recast.
He was a recast, yeah.
So that was your chance of seeing someone else in the role.
Right.
All I'm saying is, why can't we get someone else in the role so we could get another act? Like, again, they were flirting with maybe making Xavier in Magneto of color. And I'm like, well, you could get the guy that was just the big bad in The Mandalorian. He would be an awesome Magneto. And Ralph Fiennes would be an awesome Xavier. I mean, not Ralph Fiennes, I'm sorry. What's his name that's playing Uatu? That's voicing Uatu.
Oh, God.
I can't think of his name.
Why do I always forget his name? I love him. He's in Westworld. He's now the new James Gordon in Batman. What is his name?
Getting his name. I don't even want to look it up. I hope
it's fine. It's fine, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so those two people of color being both Xavier and Magneto would be awesome. I'm just saying, it's time for something new. Hugh Jackman,
no, I don't think that's going to happen. Hell no. I do not want to see that version of Reed Richards. If we are going to get a Fantastic Four, I do not want to see Miles Teller. Did you ever even? Honestly, I never even watched it. Did you watch that Fantastic Four, Juwan?
I can't speak on that movie because I am actually friends with Josh Trank, who directed that. But I did see it, and I know why Josh Trank was not happy with how that played out. That was something for sure.
Did you hear about this? Magneto is going to play Denzel Washington.
Denzel as Magneto has been fan cast for forever. So it's one of those things where if it is true, it's just a fan cast come to life. But people were talking Denzel as Magneto before the second reboot that we got. That like they might really try to change it and go people of color when Fox rebooted it. So that's been attached for forever. So if there's any credence to that, it's just one of those fan castings that actually came to life.
Like John Krasinski being Reed Richards.
Yes. I mean, even though I will say that they're adding a lot of fuel to that. The first comic for the Fantastic Four that came out right around the rumors of John Krasinski, he looked like John Krasinski from A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, that's not by accident. That's just like when the comics made Fury look exactly like
Samuel Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Samuel L. Jackson is now Nick Fury.
Yeah.
It's very possible. And
they want his wife to
Emma.
be,
Not Emma, Emily.
Emily Blunt. But she
Yeah.
said she has no interest. Like,
She has no interest. I'm all right with John being, if we're gonna get at least one, I wouldn't mind John being Reed Richards. I'm not. I don't care who's Sue Storm. I really don't. I do want to say though, and I know Joanne's gonna give me blowback on this. I will say that if I had to pick anyone that they could possibly bring back, and I don't want it doesn't necessarily have to be for good, but if there was going to be a character that they just bring him back for at least one film, just so we can say he was in the MCU, and that's Hugh Jackman. I've said this several times. I'm not saying that he needs to be the Wolverine going forward, but I just feel because he did such a great job for the last 20 years and he was never given the right treatment and even the right setup and having the right, just being amongst other characters like Hulk, Spider-Man, and all those other characters. I just want to see it happen once and then move forward.
My argument will always be this. It'll be a snowball if that happens. Because it's like when Snyder got his Snyder cut. When you thought, all the Snyder fans will just go away now that it's happened. No, they only amplified. They now want more. They want to see more from him. And it's like, that's not what this was for. This was just to give you what you wanted and then make you go away.
All right, but then you got to have at least you got to at least have a bromance kind of team up with Deadpool. Then you got to have something in Deadpool.
I don't disagree, but how do you then tell the fans after that, no more, we're moving on? They'll never agree with that because then they'll say, well, just keep him now.
Yeah, but his character and his performance, first of all, his performance in Reminiscence wasn't bad. The movie itself was okay. I'm not going to say it was a bad film. It wasn't what I expected. I was expecting more. I thought it was going to be, because it tried to be almost like an Inception kind of film, like a Christopher Nolan kind of film, if you will. Doesn't necessarily mean it had to copy Christopher Nolan. God, no, don't do that. But I was expecting more. I didn't hate the movie. But if anything came from it, it wasn't anything bad from it. It wasn't Hugh Jackman's performance. And we already know. So, I mean, that's like basically with like that. That's like saying that he was never casted as Wolverine, but he's been in talks as a fan cast. Then you seeing him in this film, like, no, I don't want to see him. We already know what he's like as Wolverine. And for me, he's great. But I know you have nothing against him as Wolverine. You just want a shorter Wolverine and you want a different. A comic book actor.
Yeah. Yes, I want him shorter. Him being that tall is ridiculous.
What is he in the comic? 5'3"? What is he? 5'3"?
Very short.
Yeah, he was short, dude.
He's always low to the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's supposed to be. His name is Wolverine. It's the wolf in him. He's supposed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want more of that. So again, there's nothing against Hugh Jackman. He's had over 20 years. It's time.
Yeah.
To pass it
and Logan, don't get me wrong, Logan was a perfect send off, a perfect way to end that character.
Yeah, it was
and a lot of people bring that up. You're like, oh, Logan happened. He can't come. He can't. Well, Logan was actually set in the future, so he can. But I understand what you're saying. If you're gonna recast, just recast. So and I'm okay with that because. But the only other thing is Wolverine's been Wolverine for 20 years. We had nothing before that. So I don't even know how I'm going to feel. It's not like, so with Fassbender, like you said, you brought up the recast. Mm-hmm. He was recasted. We already got a recast of Magneto. We never got a recast of Wolverine. We've had the same constant. So it's going to be a little weird at first, but I'm sure I'll get over it.
Think of it like this. We hadn't had Blade before Wesley Snipes.
Right. And I'm okay with,
there was a huge gap between the first time Wesley Snipes has become Blade and then when Mahershala was announced.
Right.
Everyone was of the mindset when Wesley said he had spoken to Kevin Feige. We were all like, yes, he's coming back, right? Fans were loving it. The moment Mahershala walked across that stage and put that hat on, I have not seen not one tweet from anyone saying, no, but I need Wesley back, even if it's just for one movie. Yeah. No one cares anymore. So what I'm saying is it's once you rip the Band-Aid off and you give people time, the same way no one's talking about Robert Pattinson as Batman right now.
Yeah.
People hated on it to begin with, and guess what? Now they're quiet. They're gone.
Yeah, no. Once I saw that trailer, I was like, all right, I'm in.
That's what I'm saying. So to me, we have to give new.
I agree. I think once they announce it,
but the thing with Batman is we've had so many.
that is a good point. I mean,
do we really care anymore? You know?
No, I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking more so to specifically the actor.
The actor
who took over for the Batman. Was someone that fans were not on board with.
Well, no, we weren't on board with Ben Affleck too.
Nobody was. Yeah, and
once you give it a chance and you see it, you're just like.
And once I seen him on the screen in the costume and his performance, I was like, "Well, I fucked up." Ben Affleck's actually probably my favorite Batman.
Yep. So that's what I'm saying. To me, it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't rip the Band-Aid off now,
I don't know if
another 5 years before people are like,
I don't know if I'm familiar with who's Ben Foster. What do I know him from?
Foster was in The Mechanic with Jason Statham.
Okay.
He was in The Mechanic. He was also in what is the PC game? World of Warcraft is one of the wizards.
I don't know. It sounds familiar, but again, 5'8". I mean, 5'8" would be a downgrade because Jackman's over 6 feet, but that's still pretty much tall when in comparison to Wolverine. I mean, it's taller than I am. I'm only 5'5".
I'm 5'5" myself. I need Wolverine to be around that.
Yeah,
right around that pocket.
We need some short representation.
That's what I'm saying, and why not get it from one of the most prevalent characters in all of the MCU?
I agree.
All of Marvel, rather.
Hell in High Water is another thing.
Yeah, with Jeff Bridges. Oh God, that was great. Yeah, that movie was amazing.
Damn it, that's another movie I didn't see.
Chris Pine, Ben Foster, and I think Jeff Bridges.
I definitely know because I know the name. I definitely know who it is. I can't for the life of me. I can't picture his face. I'm gonna look it up when we get off. But all right. So I do want to end the stream. We're a little over an hour, but it was great because I love the conversation that we all had. This was fun, Kitty. As always, I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for guest appearing, Joanne. It's always a pleasure having you on here, and I've been on several of your streams, so it's just fun, and I always get good conversation with you. And it was also fitting, as I said, we did see the movie together. It was my first time meeting you in the flesh, so we'll always have Shang-Chi and now future movies. Going forward. I did find out something though. Moving forward, though, I didn't know. So I thought I had to come all the way to Jersey because of all the mandates that are going on in New York. Apparently, so I only checked one theater because that's the one that's near me. It's the one I always go to. Every other theater doesn't have that. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I had a great time, and you're only 25 minutes away from me.
Right.
But, the tolls, whatever. But no, the next Marvel movie, I'm definitely there. So once we, or the next movie that we all want to go see, I'm definitely down.
Yeah. Like I said, we're going to be doing like James Bond. We're going to be doing Venom.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for No Time to Die.
Yeah. We're going to be doing, me and Joelle see all these movies.
Kitty, you have an admirer.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in and thank you for your comments. I really, really appreciate that. It's always good to have different people on and talk. But guys, yeah, thank you for coming on. Hope to see you guys all soon. Can't wait for our next review. And Joanne, I didn't think to do it before, but I'm gonna actually put Joanne's link to his YouTube channel and his over at GVN to this the description. That way you guys can go follow him. He just put his Shang-Chi review out 2 days ago, right?
Yeah.
Friday. Yeah, Friday night.
Yeah, Friday. Sorry, yeah. I'm losing track of this.
No, I know. I almost did too. I almost said yesterday, but in fact it is Sunday. So his review is out now. His spoiler review is out now as well. So guys, go on over and click the link and show some support. Guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend, and I will see you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.